One of the guys in my school community recently asked me a question that I think a lot of guys struggle with. He said, I'm genuinely good at being liked. I'm warm, kind, safe, and I'm usually the guy people are glad is there. But I've spent my entire life believing those exact qualities are why I end up being the friend instead of being the guy women actually want. And I completely understand why he'd think that. Because when women constantly tell you that you're a great guy, but the woman you're interested in never seems to actually want you, eventually you start wondering if being a good guy is the problem. Maybe nice guys really do finish last. I used to believe that too. In fact, when I was younger, I went in the complete opposite direction. I started being a dick to women because I thought that's what created attraction. And weirdly enough, it worked. I started attracting more women. But I was generally attracting women with low self-esteem who were willing to tolerate being treated poorly. And eventually I realized that becoming an asshole might help me attract some women, but it wasn't going to help me attract the kind of woman I'd actually want to spend the rest of my life with. So if you're a warm, kind, genuinely good guy, don't get rid of these qualities. They are not the problem. The problem is that being liked is completely different to being wanted. And in this video, I want to explain the difference. I want to show you why a woman could genuinely love having you around without feeling attracted to you. And I want to reveal 4 qualities that you can develop if you want to become the type of guy who's both liked and wanted. I actually had a friend who struggled with this when we were younger. He had a lot of female friends, and he was genuinely a nice guy. He was warm, kind, safe, and great to talk to. So whenever women were going through something that they struggled with, they'd come to him. They trusted him. They enjoyed spending time with him. And they genuinely liked him. But none of them wanted to date him. And I think this is where a lot of guys get confused. We assume that if a woman likes us enough, eventually that liking will turn into attraction. But that's not how it works. A woman could think you're funny, she can trust you, she can love talking to you, she can think you're one of the nicest guys she's ever met, and still have absolutely no desire to date you. Because being a good person makes you likable. It doesn't automatically make you attractive though. And the distinction that really helped me understand this was respect. You don't want a woman just to like you. You want her to respect you as well. And ideally, you have both. You want her to see you as a genuinely good person who cares about her, while also seeing qualities in you that she deeply respects and would want in a partner. So then the question becomes, what are those qualities? This is a question I spent years trying to answer. I read hundreds of books, I spent over $100,000 on coaches and mentors, and I've thought about this stuff probably far more than any other normal human being should. And eventually, I came across a framework that helped everything click. It comes from a book called King, Warrior, Magician, Lover. And the basic idea is that there are 4 masculine archetypes: the king, the warrior, the magician, and the lover. Now, I'm not saying you need to start calling yourself a king or walking around dressed like you're in Game of Thrones, but these qualities are just a useful way of thinking about what makes a man more attractive, more respected, and ultimately more valuable as a partner. The first is the king. And I really think about this like leadership, because a good leader has direction. He can make decisions. He remains relatively calm when things go wrong, and the people around him trust his judgment. This doesn't mean bossing women around, because there's a huge difference between being a leader and being a tyrant. A tyrant needs everyone to do what he says because he's insecure. But a good leader listens to people around him, takes their needs into account, and then when a decision needs to be made, he's comfortable making it. And this can show up in really small ways. One of the last women I went on a date with before meeting my fiance was clearly overthinking what she should wear on our date. So I just told her, don't stress about it, it's casual, just wear something comfortable. And then when I saw her, she told me she'd literally been thinking about what to wear for hours, and that one little message helped her relax. That's leadership. I didn't force her or tell her what to wear. I just removed unnecessary uncertainty and gave her some direction. And I like thinking about relationships as if you're the captain of a ship. You're essentially saying, this is the life I'm building, this is where I'm going, if you like where I'm headed, you can come with me. And that's another important part of leadership. It's not enough to know where you're going. You need to be going somewhere another person would actually want to go. If you have no goals, no direction, hate your life, and have no intention of changing anything, it's going to be hard to convince a high-quality woman to build her life alongside yours. You don't need to be rich, you don't have to have everything figured out, but you should have some direction. Now, the next archetype is the warrior. And I think the easiest way to understand this one is capability. Can you do difficult things? Can you protect yourself and the people you care about? Do you look after your body? Can you remain useful when things go wrong? Do you have the courage to confront uncomfortable situations rather than constantly running away from them? That's the warrior. And this is something I've noticed personally when I started Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I became more physically capable. I knew that if something happened, I had a better chance of protecting myself and the people around me. And I noticed that some women responded really positively to that. Now, I'm not saying you have to become a UFC fighter. You don't need to be shredded and you don't need to run marathons. And please don't start fights at bars because you started watching this video. The warrior is much bigger than just learning how to fight and being in shape. It's about becoming capable. A guy who trains consistently demonstrates that he has discipline. A guy who does what he says he's going to do demonstrates reliability. And a guy who's willing to face uncomfortable situations demonstrates courage. Those are the qualities that people respect. And if you feel like you're currently missing this part of yourself, start building it. Train, do difficult things, keep promises to yourself. Stop constantly choosing the easiest option. Become someone you could rely on if things went wrong. Now, the third and arguably my strongest archetype is the magician. Personally, I think about the magician more like a sage. I think about it like wisdom, competence, the ability to understand people's problems and solve them. Think about the people you respect most in any area of life. Usually they're exceptionally good at something. They understand things that other people don't understand, and when something goes wrong, they're the person that everyone turns to. That's incredibly valuable. It's actually one of the reasons why people pay me for coaching. They're not paying me because I'm a nice guy or they like me. They're paying me because they believe I understand a problem that they're struggling with and I can help them solve it. And relationships obviously aren't coaching businesses, but the underlying principle is the same. Competence is attractive, and your partner will be attracted to you if you can solve her problems. That's why you want to become someone whose presence makes the lives of the people around him better. Not because you're constantly rescuing people, but because you have the knowledge, wisdom, and skills that are genuinely useful to others. And this one takes time. You need to read, learn, develop skills, gain experience, and make mistakes and actually learn from them. You just have to become someone that your future wife can turn to when she's struggling with something and she knows that you are going to help her and you're going to solve her problems. And finally, there's the lover. And ironically, this might be your strongest quality right now if you're the guy I described at the start of this video. Warm, kind, safe, caring. That's not something you need to get rid of. You need it. But there's an important distinction between genuine kindness and people-pleasing. And I think the easiest way to tell the difference is to ask yourself, am I being nice because I genuinely care about this person? Or am I being nice because I want something from them? Do I want her to like me? Do I want her approval? Am I afraid that she'll reject me if I disagree with her? Am I being nice because I'm hoping I'll eventually be rewarded with a relationship? Because that's not actually kindness. That's manipulation and that's a transaction. Genuine care is different. If I genuinely care about someone, sometimes I'll tell them something they don't want to hear. I do this all the time with my clients. If I think they're making a mistake, I'll tell them. Not because I want to piss them off. Not because I'm just being brutally honest, bro, but because I genuinely want what's best for them. And if that means not being in my program, I don't care. I just want what's best for the people who are in my life. And that's how I treat my relationships too. I want what's best for my fiance. And that means I don't need to manipulate her into staying with me. And I remember when we first started dating, I told her, if you ever find a better option suited for you, then just leave. Because I don't want someone to be with me if they genuinely believe that they'll have a better life with someone else. I'd rather be the kind of man that women actually want to date. And that's a completely different form of kindness that doesn't come from scarcity. It doesn't come from desperately trying to hold on to someone. It comes from genuinely caring about what's best for people. And then when people notice that in you, they can sense it. And it's really, really attractive. So with everything that we've discussed, let's bring this back to the original question. How do you go from being liked to being wanted? First, stop believing that being a good guy is the problem. It's not. Don't make the mistake I made when I was younger and think you need to become colder, more distant, or start treating women poorly. Keep your warmth. Keep the kindness. Keep being someone people feel safe around, but build the other qualities alongside it. Become a better king by developing leadership and direction. Become a better warrior by developing discipline, courage, and capability. Become a better magician by developing wisdom, competence, and the ability to solve problems. And become a better lover by learning to genuinely care about people without needing something in return. And then ask yourself, which one of these four am I currently weakest in? Because that's probably where I'd start next. You don't need to completely change your personality. You don't need to become someone you're not. You just need to develop parts of yourself that you've likely neglected. And as you do that, you'll naturally become someone more people respect, more women are attracted to, and most importantly, someone you're more proud to be. Because ultimately, I don't think the goal should be to trick more women into wanting you. I think the goal should be to become the kind of man a great woman would genuinely want to be with. And there's a big difference between the two. Anyway, that's it for this one. If you want my personal help developing these 4 traits so you become a man that women actually want to be with, feel free to check out my community in the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll chat to you soon. Peace.